And welcome to a meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach held Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. We'll have a roll call. Councilmember Bendo.
Present.
Councilmember Lester.
Here.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Present.
Vice President Fiamara.
Present.
President Finn.
That wasn't me.
I'm with him. We're here.
Present.
We
Okay.
need you up here.
Okay. Let the record indicate the presence of City Manager Dan Creighton and Corporation Counsel Frank DeCranis. We'll now have a salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before we get started, just a reminder, items 1 and 5 have been removed from the calendar. Items 1 and 5 have been removed from the calendar.
I would also like to take 1 minute to acknowledge what we've all seen on the news, where hostages were killed over in Palestine, and one of them was an American citizen. And I think it's important to note, and maybe a moment of silence just for that for all those people, and hopefully there will be some solution to this war. Thank you. Okay, Dan.
Okay, thank you all for being here tonight. Good evening. I want to again commend Patty Salerno for her career with the Long Beach Police Department. Her initiation of the Narcan program will leave a life-saving legacy for years to come. We can count the number of lives she's already saved. We are proud of her, and she should be proud of the impact she has had on our community and will continue to have on our community. Thank you, Patty. Yesterday at 6 p.m., we closed out what was, by all accounts, a very successful beach season. Revenue for the season was up compared to last year, and more importantly, everybody that came to the beach went home from the beach while our lifeguards were on duty. Staff and I will be having a debrief of the season the days ahead in order to review what worked and where we can continue to make improvements, but the end results are significantly better than last year. Several $100,000 it seems that we've made more than last year, but we still are auditing those numbers. Staff and I have also have a storm preparation meeting coming up as we get into the thick of the hurricane season. I remind our residents that September is National Preparedness Month. It is a good time to make sure your family has emergency plans in place and are ready for whatever the season may bring. The city is sending out a hurricane bulletin to all of our residents that lists everything you need to be prepared, properly prepared. Should be hitting mailboxes as early as next week, so please keep an eye out for it. On the public works front, the water main replacement project for the walks is in the pre-construction phase. Construction is expected to commence before the month is out. We're expecting construction to commence also on the Heron Street reconstruction in the canals before the end of September. The Heron Street work will include complete replacement of underground utilities, elevation of the roadway itself, improved drainage, and new sidewalks with colonial lighting. This is a much-needed project and is expected to reduce flooding in the area. It will also look beautiful when it is completed. Finally, for Public Works, DPW expects to be giving an update on the North Shore Critical Infrastructure Project at a meeting in October. We will let you know the date when we confirm the details. While the official beach season is over, there's still a lot going on in the city during the weekends ahead. The conclusion of the Movies on the Beach series will take place this Friday with the film Jaws on Edwards Boulevard. Previews will begin at dusk. Don't forget your beach chair and maybe a sweatshirt since it seems to be getting a little colder out. One of the most popular days of the year is coming up with the Michelle O'Neill Volleyball Tournament taking place this Saturday starting at 8 a.m. Registration is already closed, but you are all invited to come cheer the teams on to support a great cause. King and Queen of the Beach Kids Surf Contest takes place at Riverside Boulevard Beach this Sunday. The contest is for surfers age 17 and under. Registration begins at 8 a.m. The contest is held in memory of Brian Ward and Danny Bovis. Come down and check out our next generation of surfers. The City and Long Beach Fire Department will also commemorate 9/11 on Wednesday, September 11th, at Fireman's Memorial Plaza on Park Avenue at Lafayette Boulevard. The entire city is invited to join us in reflection at the somber ceremony taking place at 7 p.m. Please come out and join us to ensure that this day is never forgotten. The third annual Hispanic Heritage Month Kite Flying Festival will take place on Sunday, the 15th, from 12 noon to 2 p.m. at Laurelton Boulevard at the beach. Come join the city and the Long Beach Latino Civic Association to kick off Hispanic Heritage Month by flying kites on the beach. A limited number of free kites will be provided while supplies last. As a reminder, the September 17th City Council meeting was canceled, as several of us will be out of town for the Conference of Mayors. The next City Council meeting will be October 1st. Just to highlight a couple of things early in September, early in October, October 5th will be the Order of Hibernians Irish Day Parade and Festival, and following weekend, October 12th and 13th, is the annual Fall Festival. Speaking of the Fall Festival, there's been some valid concerns expressed about the first day of the Fall Festival taking place on Yom Kippur. Preparations for the Fall Festival began more than a year ago by the prior city management. I've been assured that staff had reached out to the religious community for their input on the conflict. At the time, they were told it was okay to proceed since the festival takes place on Saturday as well as Sunday when the holiday is over. This is definitely a regrettable situation that this administration vows to address more sensitively moving forward. One more time, I would also like to commend the lifeguards, the police, Beach Park, everybody for a successful season. It really went well. The staff did an incredible job, including CSEA, who helped out with beach collections, which seemed to have helped collection of funds for the summer. It was really an exceptional season. Thank you to everybody. With that, I conclude my city manager's report.
I'd like to thank you, Dan, for spearheading that as well. You did a nice job with the beach. Appreciate it.
Okay, on to the regular calendar. We're going to call out of order. We're going to start with item number 11 out of order. Resolution authorizing the city manager to accept a charitable donation.
Okay, so this item allows us to receive a charitable donation, a surfboard for water rescue to the city's fire department from the Casey Scudden 343 Foundation. I would like to personally thank Casey Scudden 343 Foundation for their generous contribution. It's long needed. I know the fire department's waiting for it. It's a great thing for this city and the community.
Questions from the council?
Just a quick one. First, thank you to the Casey Scudden 343 Foundation for doing this. For the fire commissioner, the surfboard, does it go on the pickup truck that's parked out there that tows the jet ski? Because I've seen the surfboard on there. Does this go on one of the fire trucks? Where does this go?
This will be determined by the administration of the fire department, where it's needed the most, and we do the most good.
Okay.
The expectation is it will go on the one of the fire trucks, the one that's the primary response unit.
Okay.
Any other questions from the council?
I just want to say thank you to Angela, who's coming up here right now, personal friend of mine, so I guess she's going to say something.
She should.
Yeah? You got to go like this,
Switch.
Angela, top, right here.
Hi, guys. On behalf of the Casey Scudden 343 Fund, I'm here with my son, Benjamin, tonight. My husband, Casey Scudden, was a resident of Long Beach and a New York City firefighter and part of New York City's Surf Rescue Unit and a firefighter in Rockaway, New York. During his career, he was actually involved in a surf rescue that he received a medal for the FDNY. And I started a service organization in his honor to help other career professional first responders. So we noticed a need in my own town, in Casey Scudden's town, that we needed this board for surf rescues on our barrier island. So it is my pleasure to donate this board in Casey Scudden's honor from the Casey Scudden 343 Fund to the Long Beach professional firefighters. Thank you guys for your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so comments from the public?
Good evening, everyone. Sam Pinto, Long Beach Professional Firefighters. I'd like to start by thanking the Angela Scudin and the KC 343 Foundation for this donation. This is a life-saving tool that we're going to utilize. Many times we've had to commandeer civilian surfboards during rescues. Donation of this board, in Casey's memory, is going to save lives. It's also going to protect the lives of the responders, because being a person who had to actually commandeer a surfboard from a civilian to pull in an unresponsive person, I would not have been able to bring that person in by myself. Luckily, I was able to get a board. But if I had a board on the truck, it would have made a big difference, because I would have been able to paddle out, utilize that board with the special rescue handles, and it would have made a big difference on the situation. Casey was a friend of ours for many years prior to his passing. We busted chops, had good times, we enjoyed each other, and he loved the Long Beach Firefighters. He always cared about us, and I specifically want to thank the foundation and his family for the donation, because it's a very much needed tool, especially right in time for hurricane season when the lifeguards are off duty. I'd also like to thank the city manager and deputy city manager, Mr. Ragona, Mr. DeCranis, and Corp Council, because as you guys are aware, it was a challenge. A few nuances made this very challenging, even though it shouldn't have been. We're excited to get it on the truck. We're excited to utilize this tool. We have a great group of new studs, and I use that term specifically because they're all retired lifeguards or former lifeguards or active lifeguards. So we have the skill set to utilize this tool, and it can make everyone safer. So once again, I want to thank everyone for the donation. My workforce that's with me, thanks you guys for the donation. The City Council, we thank you. Thank you for putting this on the agenda in advance to get us up and out of here. And we look forward to getting this on the truck tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Okay, we're going to close that?
Okay, did you want to?
Yeah. We're going to vote on it out of order.
Okay, so item 11 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept a charitable donation. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item? Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes, thank you.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Thanks so much. Yes, of course.
Vice President Fiamora.
Yes, Angela, thank you for everything you do.
President Finn.
Yes, thank you very much to the Scudin family.
All right. Okay, item 1 has been taken off the calendar, along with its public hearing. Item 2, oh, wait a minute. There we go. So the second public hearing scheduled is an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding building code, housing and property rehabilitation, and conservation code, and Appendix A zoning.
So this item allows us to pursue civil penalties for zoning violations beyond the typical penal penalties. I have both Scott from the Buildings Department and Frank DeCranis from the Corporation Council if you have any further questions.
We have questions from the council. John?
Got it. I'm not sure who to ask, Frank or Scott. Right now, we have fines, each violation $250. How often do we fine people?
Scott, you know the answer to that one?
Any violation that goes to court can have a potential fine. The fines are dependent on the judges, so we can't make that determination. So any violation that ends up being summons, illegal apartments, any building code violation or zoning violation that goes to court has the potential for a fine.
Right, I understand the potential, but what happens? What actually happens? I'm trying to look at the reality of the situation.
Well, the Corporation Counsel's Office prosecutes it.
Right, no, but what
They
do
make
we...
recommendations of fines to the court, and then the court sets the fine.
Okay. What do we collect? Nobody knows. Okay.
Roy, yeah, it's hard to determine what's going to be collected. There may be other things on the calendar in front of the judge, and the judge may bundle them together. He may take a plea in satisfaction of some of the other ones, And, you know, at some point, sometimes they even, they'll change the charge or do something like that. If the person is trying to correct the situation, sometimes each situation is different. You may have a landlord that may not be aware of certain things and took good and prompt efforts. That's a consideration. When I was a judge for 9 years in the court, that's the way we handle it, and I believe the two judges today do the same thing.
So what is the purpose? What I'm trying to figure out is what is the purpose for increasing the penalties by so much?
To prevent people from coming to court with it.
But prevent them from coming to court?
Well, if you have a law and it's got some teeth in it, and in addition you can have civil penalties on top of that, you would think twice about whether or not you want to intentionally violate the law.
Well,
least
intention has nothing to do with it.
Well, if you go out and you commit whatever the violation is, I mean, unless you...
I mean, part of this says personal knowledge of the existence of a violation is not required. No mens rea, intent, is required, and any violation shall be one of strict liability.
Well,
and we're talking about $1,000 a day. So if somebody has an illegal apartment, they don't know about it for years, they could be facing fines of hundreds of thousands of dollars?
I don't think anybody's going to get a fine of $100,000.
No, I'm not saying what could happen. I'm saying what we are asked to put in the law.
Well, let me give you an example. If some kid kicks a window in and it's more than $250 to repair it, it could be an e-felony punishable up to 4 years in jail. That's never going to happen. But it's on the books, and there's a lot of things that are similar to that. You hopefully have a little common sense when you get in a courtroom. The prosecutor and the judge look at it, and you weigh everything else. If you add them all together and you say you could possibly get this, get that, the other thing, most of the time you just want people not to do it in the first place.
Right, but I just don't like the idea that somebody might innocently have something wrong and goes on for years, and now all of a sudden they're liable. They never even knew about it. They had no notice. They had no intent.
So let me ask a question.
Yes.
So are you saying there should be no fines at all?
No.
What are you saying?
I just said that the idea of $1,000 a day for each day the violation shall continue is absurd.
Well,
It's
as you
absurd.
said, that's the possibility.
Yes. Well,
So-
it shouldn't be the possibility.
Can I address this just? I think this is not about the person that inadvertently is breaking the law. This is about the person that is violating the law in full knowledge that they're violating the
That's
law.
not what it
Hold-
says.
Can I finish what I'm saying?
Yes,
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
With the intention that this is the cost of doing business. I will illegally rent out my basement because I know I'm going to collect more than $250 renting out my basement because it's the cost of doing business. I'll gladly pay the fine of $250 if I can rent out my basement for $1,500. The idea is that we want to stop people from doing stuff that we know is illegal. And we know that they shouldn't be doing it, and they know that they shouldn't be doing it, but why not do it if the penalty's not there to fit the crime? The idea is to stop people from doing stuff that they knowingly do illegally, to stop. It's not about stopping the people that don't know. And the idea that people are renting out their basement and don't know that it's illegal, to me, is a little absurd.
Dan,
Just saying.
it clearly says personal knowledge of the existence of a violation is not required. You don't even have to know about it. No intent is required. And any violation charge shall be strict liability. In other words, there's really no defense. Okay, listen, I know what you say. It's not meant for it, but that's how it's written.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I guess this is for you, Frank. For those of us that don't speak lawyer, the current fines are non-civil. Now we're proposing to add civil fines. Can you explain the difference between non-civil and civil fines?
What this is really is, in addition to anything that the court would decide, let's say that there was some, it cost the city cleanup crews, things like that, people come in, repairs, and the city expended a lot of time, energy, overtime. They could take an action against the person, in addition to what the court fines them for the city's costs and expenses. and they can impose civil penalties. It would be a lawsuit, a separate lawsuit.
So are the civil fines also determined by a judge as well?
In a lawsuit, yes, but that would be a separate suit.
But it's a separate suit?
Correct.
So in effect, you could be going after the person two different ways for the
Correct.
same thing?
Correct.
Okay.
But Frank, let's be honest, the judge can, on a non-civil, the judge can determine it. This doesn't say up to, this says $1,000 for each day.
I don't know whether I would bring any civil action at all, Roy. It would depend on the situation. It's the extra teeth, that's what it's there for. And listen, the judge is going to look at it, the prosecutor is going to look at it, you have a defense attorney.
What defense? It's strict liability.
That's actually not so. You still have to prove the facts. Each element has to be proven beyond reasonable doubt in a criminal case, and there'll be a preponderance of evidence in the other one. So it's, it's not as easy as all that. You still have to produce a witness. You have to have some evidence that the thing occurred. You can't just throw something out there and expect the judge to accept that as evidence. It's they're very difficult. They're actually not an easy case to prove. So.
Mike?
Yeah, and Dan, you mentioned the $250. Obviously, it's something that we need something with a little more teeth to it as far as the fines, because what's going to deter somebody from purposely as well? I know, Roy, what are you going to say? But can you tell me what the fines are now? Was it $250 or?
I believe right now it's $250. There's actually a penalty as well as imprisonment of 15 days if such fine, or by both fine and imprisonment. But, I've never seen that happen where someone gets, 15 days in jail for it. It also is punishable by fine not to exceed $500. And then anything over 25 dwelling units shall be up to $2,000. So these are fines that could be levied, but it is at the judge's discretion, I believe. Yep.
Okay.
My comment is that we have to have fines that induce people to obey the law. If the fines are not substantial, as Dan said, people will just disregard the law. And we're seeing a lot more lawlessness out there, not necessarily in Long Beach, but in the world, because people aren't afraid of paying the price because the price isn't really that high. Comments from the public? Yes.
Eileen Hessian, good evening. The last meeting I attended, you were talking about bed and breakfast. Is that included in this?
We were talking about Airbnb.
Yeah.
Well, but it wasn't just Airbnb. It was people, transient housing.
So is that part of this?
It could be a zoning.
It could fall into that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have to ask a question then. How? I didn't want to bring it up, but how? How does Airbnb fall into this?
If you have a separate apartment in your house and you're renting it out as a separate dwelling unit, it would fall into this.
We're talking Airbnb. We're talking about the people that came up. That was just the question.
We're talking about if there's Airbnb isn't just a whole house. It could be a portion of the house. It could be a piece of the house. I've rented Airbnbs. You can rent a unit in the house.
Yes.
Somebody could rent a unit that's not even a legal unit. That's how it would fall into this.
But that we already have things that
Would
say,
it cover every Airbnb? Probably not. If somebody rents
But
out their
the
entire house
fact
as
is,
an Airbnb.
last week, or 2 weeks ago, we told the people, we told the public numerous times that Airbnb were illegal.
A transient occupancy is not legal in this town. So does it call out Airbnb specifically? No, it doesn't call out that. It doesn't call out VRBO specifically.
No,
It
as
calls
a matter
out
of fact,
transient property.
Airbnbs are not illegal in this town.
A transient property is illegal in this town.
Airbnbs don't fall under a transient
They
property.
most certainly do. If they rent for less than 30 days, they do. Yes, absolutely.
No.
You're wrong.
Well,
You're wrong.
Well, that's what I've been asking.
You're wrong.
I asked all week for the proof of that.
Airbnb is illegal if it's less than 30 days. It is defined as a transient property for less than 30 days. That is illegal in this town by the law, which you were sent. When you asked for the information, you were sent it.
I was sent saying it was a hotel, and it's not a hotel, Dan. It's not a hotel. By our own definition, it's not a hotel.
Any other comments from the public? Yes.
Good evening, all. Jordan Levitt, 96 Barnes. I just happen to be here to give my thanks to the Scudden family, but this is a great topic. The way that I read it, and I did read it, it's super broad. You know, if we have a law in the books that says that you must mow your lawn if it gets over a certain height, then you could potentially be fined $1,000 a day for your lawn being over height. There are no restrictions in this at all. It's all building code, all housing property rehabilitation, all conservation code. So that's a really big open check for the city and the buildings department to be able to find. And, you know, somebody who lives in Long Beach and is already struggling, you know, to make ends meet, you know, the idea that, you know, that it becomes taxation, you know, through this method of finding people really bothers me.
Well, it's not intended to harm anyone. It's just intended to induce people to follow the law.
I get that, but you can also see where, you know, where different cities and villages, you know, need to build revenue, and they do that through enforcement, you know, where they say, okay, we're going to write everybody who has a, you know, clear piece of plastic on their license tag because that's illegal, or we're going to go after people who, you know, put their trash too close to the fire hydrant. It can be a form of revenue, and it goes completely unchecked when you allow such an open.
Well, that's certainly not the intent of this law.
I know.
And I assume you've been in Long Beach a while, and
Sure, 10 years.
You're pretty much aware that that's not what happens here.
That's not what's happened here. But anytime we allow the city to have really open, you know, boundaries for how they're going to implement policy, it creates a little bit of a worry. You know,
Okay.
it's that's it. You know, I'm not for or against the idea of, you know, making sure that we, you know, have proper building codes and that they're well enforced and all these things. But I think it has to be a little bit less broad than everything that falls underneath the scope of the ordinance in relation to building, housing, property, rehabilitation, conservation.
Okay.
It's really broad.
Thank you. Thanks for your comment.
I do agree with you, and I like the idea, you know, that if it's not the intent of it, then change it to the intent. You know, that it's just the idea, well, that's not the intent of this resolution, of this ordinance, then it shouldn't be. Yes. All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the public? Okay, we'll close that.
Okay, on to the regular calendar. Item 1 has been taken off the calendar. Item 2 is an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding building code, housing, and property rehabilitation, conservation code, and Appendix A zoning. A hearing has been held on this item already. Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to approve a purchase order for the rental of various amusement rides for the City of Long Beach 26th Annual Fall Festival.
So this item allows us to rent amusement rides for the Fall Festival. The price is reduced more than 20% since last year with no significant change in rides. Typically, this cost is made up by ticket sales unless weather is really bad, such as it was last year. However, even last year when weather was horrible, we were only a couple of thousand short of what this will cost us this year. So typically we make more than we spend on this. And that's really it. If I have, I believe John McNally can answer any questions if you have any further questions.
Questions from the council?
Sure.
Mike.
How did we get to 20% off?
You know, I don't even know. I just went and got the numbers, and I saw it was 36,000 as opposed to last year, where it was,
Maybe
hold on
John
a second,
knows.
45,000. John?
There is one piece of equipment that was deemed to be the least utilized that we're removing from it as sort of an obstacle course for kids.
Okay.
But we're hoping to get another piece back to supplement it.
So learning from past.
Correct.
Okay. And generally, in the Fall Festival, I know the tickets are intended to pay for that. Do we usually come out even? I would think that we would, being 20% less this year, but.
It's all in all for the festival. So from the tickets and the rides, the tickets more than pay for the rides. It's a very weather-dependent event. Last year, we were substantially under making our mark. Previous years, we had been over. So it's really, it depends on what the weather is going to be and how it does.
It was a split last year, right? We had great Saturday.
Last
and
year
bad Sunday.
was, no, both days, one day was a complete washout and the other day was a half washout. At least to my recollection. I remember running through raindrops with my kids.
Thanks. Anybody else questions?
Just one. This is the company that's done it for us previously, but did we look at any other companies? Because the way the resolution's written, it says we basically just went to the same company and didn't go to anyone else.
They are more or less the only game in town for where our price point is.
Okay.
And John, they have to insure the equipment? They have insurance for the equipment?
Yes.
And the bounce houses too? Because there's a lot of bounce house problems now.
Top of my head, I don't know if the bounce houses are part of this company or not. You tell me if it's in the resolution.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm not sure if it's in the resolution or not, or if that's a separate company.
There's a pumpkin inflatable bounce.
So then, yeah, same company and it's included, yes.
Question from the public? All right, thank you, John. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, John.
Close it.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 24-25 fiscal year.
This item transfers approximately $9,000 from contingency to salary at the Water Purification Department to cover increases in salary for 2 trainees who passed their test to become operators. If you have any further questions, I believe Joe can answer them, or I could probably answer them on this one.
Question from the council? Question from the public? Okay, we'll move on to the next one.
Item 5 is off calendar. Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase a Polaris Ranger ATV under Sourcewell contract.
Okay, this item allows the police department to purchase a Polaris Ranger ATV for patrol usage throughout the city, but primarily for the beach and boardwalk. This is a no-frills model with minimal extras. It will replace a Kawasaki Mule ATV, which has outlived its useful life. However, it will be worked on at the garage and refurbished to be given to another department. Rich DePalma is here and available if you have any further questions on this item.
Question from the council?
Rich? The vehicle we have right now, how many miles does it have on it?
I'm not sure of the mileage. The Kawasaki Mule we had for a considerable amount of time. It's outlived its useful life, and it's in the shop a lot more than it's on the road, more than it's on the beach.
But we're going to rehabilitate it and give it to another department?
Possibly, if the city garage can salvage it. Otherwise, we'll have to auction it.
Okay. All right, all right. I just couldn't understand that if we can.
Gotcha. Yeah, they're going to make they're going to give it a shot if they can't fix it.
But they haven't looked at it before we're buying this?
They have. It's been in the shop a lot. This particular model.
They said what?
It's been in the shop a lot. The one we're retiring.
Okay.
The usage is also much heavier with the police department than it would be with, say, another area, so
Yeah.
it would get broken down faster.
We need speed with our models, and this unit no longer can maintain the speed.
Okay.
Thank you, Rich.
Other questions from the council? Question from the public?
I have a question,
Oh,
Brendan.
I'm sorry.
Who would know what size Ranger it is? How many cc? Is that you, Rich? I'm sorry. I wanted to make you go back and sit down and then come back and get your steps in.
I'm not sure how many CCs, be honest with you. I believe it's the same little unit that we bought, that we have for our other units, but I'm not exactly sure how many CCs.
So I know like the 1,000 is the one with the speed.
I think it's 1,000 because it's a Ranger XP 1000
Okay,
Premium.
so
There you go.
It's a
Yeah,
good
1,000,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Got one at home?
I have one upstate.
Questions from the public? All right, thank you. We'll close that.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to extend and renew the city's agreement with ShotSpotter Incorporated.
Okay, so as mentioned, this item allows us to renew a contract with Sound Thinking, previously ShotSpotter, for gunshot detection for a one-year period. Again, Rich is here if you have any further questions.
Question from the council?
How much does it cost?
The cost is $49,500
A year?
a year. Yep, for 1 square mile.
That's, okay.
And how many shootings did it pick up in the last year?
Rich, I know it had recently a few, but I don't know if they were all shots or just false.
Minus the beach, the sunset thing.
2023, in the first 6 months, we had nine pickups, 9 separate incidents, and then 2024, in the first 6 months, we had 6 separate incidents of shots being picked up.
That includes the Sandy G?
Yes.
Okay. And it tells you like right to the, it's pretty accurate?
It's
Or
accurate.
it's a vicinity?
It's accurate. It gives you the vicinity of
Yeah.
where they happened. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
It's pretty close. It's gone down in price. We've reduced the size, so the center 1 mile of town.
Got it.
Any questions from the public? Yes?
Eileen Hessian, I think Rich just said this, but it covers just 1 mile, the center of town, not either end. And he also said how many shots there had been. What happens? Somebody shoots a gun and the police department gets a notice of it?
Yeah, correct. The technology will pick up the sound of a gunshot and immediately notify dispatch, and we can send units to that area right away.
Okay, I just never understood it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, right. Any other questions or comments from the public?
I have one more question. I'm sorry. The funding for this is, do we get any grant, any subsidies, or is it paid strictly from the city, the $49,000 a year?
When we first got it, we got grant money for it. Now this is from our operating budget.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we'll close that.
Okay, item 8 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase time and attendance management software.
Okay. So this item is to pay for time and attendance software from Tyler Technologies. Not sure why this was not done previously by this previous city manager, but these items have been implemented. I believe it was signed after the capital plan was approved, but did not get approval through a board resolution, so we're trying to clean that up. And we also owe Tyler Technologies money for the work that they've already done. Specifically, this includes time approval, time off requests, overtime, policies and procedures, comp time, payroll, and training. I've spoken with CSEA leadership about this, the need to complete this, and explain the reason and its importance to the city. That being said, I believe I have Ina here, and I do have Al here as well, if you have any further questions.
Questions from the council?
Ina? Wait.
Al, you may want to come up as well, just in case it pertains to you.
This time and attendance software has been something that we've been seeing on the agenda for a long time in different aspects of it. Can you kind of explain, I know we voted on it before, but there are different parts that I don't quite understand. Can you explain why we're seeing it again, so to speak?
There's a button there.
Ina Resnick, City Controller. So, like Dan mentioned, this originally came up with an FRB grant, and once the grant was approved, it appeared on the capital plan. Once it appeared on the capital plan, contract was signed, but the contract shouldn't have been signed without a resolution from the City Council. So now that it's time to pay for it, there is no authority for my office to pay the bills without having a resolution. That's why you're seeing it again.
So this is a past bill, it's not a...
Yeah, there is nothing new, it's just the step is missing, and in order to make the process complete, we need to have this resolution.
Okay, is this a one-time cost or is this a yearly cost?
So this is actually a combination. It's a one-time cost and the cost of the recurring costs that are applicable to the period of implementation that can be capitalized because the module was not in use.
Okay. What is the yearly cost?
So the yearly cost for the full year, that module is about $25,000.
And that covers the entire city or just certain? I mean...
It's however city decides to implement it.
It what? I'm sorry.
However city decides to implement it, yes.
But the payroll, OT, comp time, all that is the entire city?
Yes.
For all departments or just...
All departments.
Including police?
It's however police already is using a system for the time management. In a police department, Rich is here, he can elaborate on that.
So they use something different?
Their needs are very different in terms of the reporting, so this system would not be adequate for them.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So this is a system that has been in use for quite some time, and this bill needs to be paid. That's the essence of this, right?
This is the system that's been already prepared, ready for consumption, and now that preparation portion has to be paid for, but yeah, it's ready to be consumed.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Any other questions from the council? Questions from the public? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ina.
Okay,
Thank you, Al.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for on-call sewer maintenance services with the sole responsible bidder.
So this item is to award a sole source contract to National Water Main Cleaning Company for trenchless repair of sewer lines. If you recall, I previously removed this item when only one bid was received. We contacted manufacturers and other companies that we thought would be able to do this work to try to increase the number of bidders received. Unfortunately, after another bid, we remained at only one bidder, the same bidder as last time. This work is highly specialized, and not many companies are out there that are qualified. We did contact the manufacturer as well to see if they would be willing to bid on it. They were not. If you have any further questions, Joe Fabrizio is here. If you have any further questions.
Question, Roy?
Yeah. Joe, once, you don't have to get up, you can. Joe, once we go with Nassau County, we no longer need this, correct?
That is correct.
And any idea when?
The project's behind schedule, so normally I would say end of 25, beginning of 26.
Early 26.
1 year behind schedule. So it's probably a couple of years.
Okay, thank you.
I got.
Okay.
Joe, is this company solely going to be doing lining in place? Is that what their function is?
Yes.
And also TV inspection and cleaning as necessary. So it's lining, TV inspection, and cleaning.
Okay, so how is it determined when their services are used?
Basically, I'll give you an example. Like right now, the historic brick streets, for example. I mean, most people love the historic brick streets. We don't want to tear them up. So like right now, I have our sewer department looking at that as a candidate to possibly line one of those blocks. Obviously, we don't want to rip them up. It would be very costly. Residents would hate that, I'm sure. So that's like one of the candidates we're looking at. If we have some sort of blockage, we'll see if we can clear it, and we'll have them do a TV inspection. It's a case-by-case basis, really. Like right now, I don't have a planned location, it just gives us another route rather than doing direct excavation to replace the sewer main.
So how much relining can we get done for?
You could probably get.
I understand it varies on line size.
Yeah,
and
just to
things
give you an
like that,
example, I just
conditions.
printed out from last year. Hold on one second.
I'm just wondering what 177,000
Just to give you an
gets us.
example, we lined Walnut between National and Magnolia. That's approximately 750 feet. That was 65,000. We also lined last year Olive Street from Magnolia to Laurelton, and that was 70,000. So we spent 135,000. So this contract will probably get you 3 streets, I would say, three like 700-foot roads, or sections of pipe.
How would this compare price-wise to if we had to dig the street
Oh,
up?
wow.
And
It would be,
do these.
that $65,000 price I just mentioned and $70,000 price would be at least threefold, at least, if not quadruple. So it's significant savings. It's definitely, it's a no-brainer.
Okay. And then just, I guess, a comment. We got no backup material on this one. So just going forward for stuff like this would be nice to.
You wanted the one bid? Or the bid documents?
Well, for example, for the amusement rides was one bid, and we got the.
Right, the breakup. I'll make sure we could get you the bid.
Yeah,
package.
I mean,
guess the
typically-
bid packages are fairly
I'm just saying, going
substantial on this,
forward,
yeah.
for stuff
Okay.
like this, it would be nice to have that included in the backup information.
Yeah, it might have just been oversight because every time my office puts together any request for a resolution, there's always a letter to the council and it gives an explanation. It might have not been in there this time by accident.
Okay.
I thought you were saying you wanted the whole bid
Normally,
package.
we
I was
see
gonna
this
say.
stuff. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we don't normally give the
Normally we
bid, I
see
don't
it.
think,
I'm just
yeah.
saying, in this instance, it might have just been an oversight.
Yeah.
But to Dan's point, we did do our due diligence because we only did receive one bid in June, and Dan was adamant, that we try to get more bids. So our office put it out to bid again, and we actually contacted a firm called Insituform, which is another company that does lining, and they didn't submit a bid. And there's one more that's escaping me for some reason right now. But so we did try to reach out, and unfortunately, we still got the same bid.
So have we looked at also potentially using relining for water lines as well?
That we've never looked at. No, I've never done that before.
Because we have water lines that have been breaking,
Yeah, I honestly have never looked into
So obviously we have
that.
degraded water lines.
There is technology to line water mains, but that's not something that we've ever done. It's worth exploring, I guess, but we've never done that.
We should explore it, but I know we have to look at the chemical usage rate and all that.
Correct, right.
Yeah, so.
But it's not uncommon in the water industry to do relining.
For these, they're really for when the joints of a piping separate, so you don't have to, if there's an actual cracked pipe or whatever, usually it's not the best way, but
Yeah,
if
it's a totally different technology, totally different, and you'd have to get permission from the health department. They probably have a lot of rules and regulations that's not governed by, for the sanitary sewer.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions?
Joe, how many times have you been asked when we're going to be out of the sewer business?
Yeah, many times. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. Believe me, I can't wait to get out of the business because it's a thankless business and it's a very expensive business. There's never anything cheap when it comes to the sanitary sewer system. So again, they signed contract October 20th of last year, and it's moving very slowly. The project, very slowly.
So just for curiosity's sake, when you spoke to the other companies that you were trying to get bids out of, was there any specific reason why it just wasn't financially viable to them, or did they give any other specific reasons?
No, I didn't get any other specifics. Unfortunately, they didn't. Nobody else put in a bid.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Question from the public.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Item 10 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the capital projects fund budget.
So this resolution is similar to the ones we've done in the past. It is to restore funds reimbursed by FEMA on the North Shore Critical Infrastructure Project back into the operating account to be used to pay future bills on that same project. Joe's still here if you have any further questions.
Council. You have a question, Roy?
Yeah. Joe,
Yes.
a couple of weeks ago, we ran into the problem where we had done some work beforehand and we weren't going to get reimbursed. Does this have anything to do with it?
This has nothing to do with that. That
Yeah.
was for, this is the North Shore Critical Infrastructure Protection Project. That's the consolidation project. This is totally different.
Okay.
The city borrowed $15 million for a $39 million project. So what happens is we're using $15 million as the working capital. So as I pay the bills to Basilico in this case, and to DMV, who's the engineer, and to the Long Island Railroad, who we're paying, I submit them to FEMA/Dishes. I get reimbursed, in this case, $3.5 million. And then I request that ENA, after this resolution, replenishes the original purchase order. So it's kind of like just, it's a housekeeping requirement that we do. This is probably the 5th time
Just
that I've
out of
been up here.
How long did it take you to get it?
To get what?
How long did it take after we had to spend it?
They're pretty
to get
quick.
it?
I mean,
Oh, they are?
this one took a little longer, but only took like 2 months.
Oh, okay.
Which isn't bad at all. We've been able to use the floating 15 million. Actually, I mean, Ina's going through the borrowing process now, and I actually told her not to borrow any more money off the authorization because I feel that this process is working. I don't need any additional working capital to move forward with the project, so we're not going to borrow anything related to this bond authorization.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Any other questions from the public?
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Okay. Item 11 has been called already. Item 12 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of a local law amending the charter of the City of Long Beach regarding assessment, levy, collection of taxes. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held October 1st at 7 p.m. Item 13 is approval of minutes of prior meeting, August 20th. Do I have a motion?
I have 2 amendments. On page 6, at the very bottom, Commissioner Miller's name is spelled with 2 R's. That's an easy one. But on page 9, it says that Councilmember Lester voted yes on canceling the September 17th meeting. He actually voted no.
Okay, so noted. All right, who introduce and move the adoption of, who'll make a motion? Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Okay, on to the regular voting. Okay. So we start with item 2, ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding building code, housing, property and rehabilitation, and conservation code, and Appendix A zoning. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
Second.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
I look at this, and as you heard the comments, it just seems like, hurting the residents of the city and really accomplishing nothing. I vote no.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
I think something like this, also, if you look in totality, is going to help with parking. It's going to help with several aspects of population. I vote yes.
Vice President Fiamara.
Yes.
President Finn.
I'll echo what Mike Reinhardt just said, that it's not intended, well, he didn't say this, but it's not intended to harm anyone. It's not intended to be a cudgel, to hurt people, but it is intended to help people who have issues on their block with people renting illegally or parking and issues like that. So, of course, I vote yes.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to approve a purchase order for the rental of various amusement rides for the City of Long Beach 26th Annual Fall Festival. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamora.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 24-25 fiscal year. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
Second.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamora.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase a Polaris Ranger ATV under Sourcewell contract. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamora.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to extend and renew the city's agreement with ShotSpotter Incorporated. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamora.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase time and attendance management software. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamora.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for on-call sewer maintenance services with the sole responsible bidder. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamora.
Is the shot fired thing working?
Vice President Fiamora.
What resolution are we on?
9.
Yes.
President Finn.
That is
Yes.
That works.
Okay. And
Does it look good? Is Ronnie packing any?
Item 10 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment for the capital projects fund budget. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
My dog is
Who did you get as the first one on that? Okay, I'll second it.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamora.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
And lastly, item 12 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of a local law amending the charter of the City of Long Beach regarding assessment levy collection of taxes. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamora.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
City Manager's monthly personnel report has been filed by the city clerk. Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
I will.
Second?
Second.
Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes.
Vice President Fiamora.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes. Sandra Fiedler.
Up here.
Hi, Sandra Fiedler,
Hi.
10 Monroe Boulevard, Long Beach. I was here last year, and I had questioned why the city of Long Beach doesn't have a charging station. Every surrounding town does. Every town. There are, I don't know how many apartment buildings, but there are a lot of apartment buildings, minimum 100 families, and there's no place for them to charge. You cannot plug in inside a garage, that's too dangerous, and none of the owners are putting anything on the outside because there's no place to do it on the outside of the buildings where they could park a car. So last year I was handed a card by an official and said we're working on it. I would stop by periodically and they got to know my name and I was told, okay, we have the company. There was 3 companies and we found one and it should be done after the summer. So I figured I would stop by last week. Stopped by and they said they're not doing it. I said, why? The city council said they're not doing it because they're not making enough money on it.
Okay, so,
You gonna answer, Dan?
I could. I think it's more than just we weren't making enough money on it. The contract that was out there, the RFP that was put out prior to us getting on board. We looked at it when it came in. It was not a benefit to the city. It may be a benefit to the residents. It was not a good deal. So as you say, like we weren't making enough money on it. We weren't making money on it at all. It was pretty much the company would make money. I think we made 20% of it with the input. There are much more grants out there now available for EV charging stations. We are looking at that. We have Patty Bourne's group looking at what sort of grants are available to us where we can get EV charging stations paid for through a grant process and put them in through that. They're more economical for the city to do it that way than it was the deal that we had out there. So we did receive 3 bids. We didn't see that one was a beneficial use of the city's funding for it when we can get public funding for it, and that's the way we are looking to go now. So we're looking at grant possibilities for putting in EV charging stations that would be more beneficial to the city overall.
Federal investment. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, signed into law in 2021, dedicated $7.5 billion for EV charging stations. However, reports indicate that no EV charging stations have been built with this funding.
Yes, I mean, I think that's on the news too. I think they built 6 with $7 billion. I think.
Why can't you be part of that?
We're looking to get that sort of funding. I don't know how much funding of that is left, believe it or not. I believe of that money that was out there, I think only 6 were built in the entire country. So I don't know what amount of that money was spent. I don't work with the feds. I don't know how much it is. I don't know if any of that money is left back, but I know it is a big news story about how few of them have been built. And I think if there's that kind of money out there, much more would be built if it was a good program.
So is this another year in progress that I'm going to be waiting for?
It would likely take a significant amount of time to design and build, yes. I mean, I would say it's probably, I mean, Joe, you could probably speak better than this to me than this, but with design and construction, it would probably be at least a year.
And the ones that do have them in Point Lookout, that's Town of Hempstead, so they're not making money on it. The one in Oceanside at the Amazon store, Oceanside is not making money on it. I heard they were putting some in Island Park, I hope, so at least I can go there and plug in. But one station is in Oceanside, and the last time I charged my car was 4 months ago, and I did not purchase an all-electric car because I live in a building, so that would have been ridiculous. So I have a hybrid car, but I have not been able to plug in anywhere. They're all taken all the time. So I'm not the only one. At 5:30 tonight, I put something up on the City of Long Beach telling them my story. And within 15 minutes, I got 50 responses. 50. I could show you these.
I believe you.
And I said, why am I the only one asking for this? So some lady in the West End said, no, we asked about it. Why don't you go?
We sat down with the group that was looking to do it, and it turned out it wasn't feasible for the city, but obviously we need to do it. There's no doubt about it.
It would be nice.
Yes? Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathleen O'Leary?
Kathleen O'Leary, Long Beach. Good evening.
Hi.
I would like to speak about a problem or a situation that affects all of us, and it's pollution, and it's air, noise, and water I'd like to speak about. Basically, the airplane noise in this town or the city is really loud, and the pollution that it's creating is, I don't even want to think about it. It's big. The town of Hempstead had founded a committee decades ago to fight airplane noise and pollution, but the FAA wouldn't respond to them. They basically stonewalled them. So what I read recently was that the town of Hempstead and the town of North Hempstead sent a petition to the FAA to consider alternate routes. And they put on it a stipulation that if they didn't get an answer in 90 days, that they were going to file a lawsuit. The problem with the FAA, besides the fact that they don't answer, is that they average the decibel levels, and towns cannot figure out whether or not their town noise level is over their what's it called? Threshold. Local or federal decibel levels. So I think it's a great idea to finally, put their foot down and threaten to sue. And I was asking if whether or not Long Beach could speak with the town of North Hempstead and the town of Hempstead and maybe join them.
I'd certainly like to do that myself.
Yeah.
They seem to go right over my house.
Yeah, I mean, they've changed the flight patterns recently.
Depends on the wind, of course.
Huh?
Depends on the wind.
Yeah, well, we just live with it, but it's really bad in a lot of ways.
I agree.
And the last thing I wanted to talk about was, I know a while ago we had said that there was one well that was contaminated, and I just wanted to ask, what is it contaminated with? Is it salt water intrusion, or is it a chemical?
So, do you mind? So there was a well that had high chloride levels at the top of the well. We put out a contract to put what's called a packer into that well to check, because we believed it was a cracked well. It was not what's called saltwater infiltration from the Lloyd Aquifer. We put that packer in. It looks like it has worked. We're confirming those results, Joe. I think we haven't confirmed them yet. But it looks like that packer worked well. So with that, we will be able to likely reopen that well and possibly drill another well that is being held up with New York State DEC. So with that, when we prove those results, we think we're going to get both of those moving forward. But
Okay,
it was just
great.
chlorides.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Linda Giles?
I'm here on behalf of Billy Rom from Billy's Beach Cafe. He asked me to read this to you.
Say that again?
I'm here on behalf of Billy Rom from Billy's Beach
From
Cafe.
Billy Beach. Is he all right?
Yeah, no, he's
Oh,
fine.
okay.
He's working.
Good.
I happened to eat there
He's a worker.
tonight.
Good.
And he knew we were coming to the meeting, so he asked me to read this. This is about the private ambulances and ambulettes in Long Beach. They have taken away our residential peaceful way and quality of life by screaming sirens to do nothing but transfer residents from Long Beach assisted living to and from. The sirens are many times louder than our own police and fire department, who respond to emergency calls within our city. These private companies come from afar and can't possibly be an emergency form of transportation, as they slowly drag themselves out of the vehicle and when leaving never use lights or sirens. Clearly, no rush on their part. If emergency in Long Beach, call 911, not these guys. Racing through neighborhoods, lights and sirens for transportation of non-life-threatening reasons is ridiculous. Avoiding traffic lights, zipping in and out of traffic lanes, disturbing residents who claim for their peace and quiet. This goes on day and night, every day, for what? Where has our quality of life gone in our beachside community? Would you like this disturbance in front of your house, your children, your parents, etc.? City Council, please address this issue. Thank you, Billy Rahm, lifelong resident. Few have been here longer and seen as much as I. Please respond. So I have these for you, and I've spoken to some people from the fire department and the police department, and apparently this has been something that's been going on for a long time. So I hope you address him so I could give him some answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's funny, right? No. Linda, coincidentally, we half joked about this before this meeting. We were talking about ambulance, and it's nice. Can we make a resolution to stop these sirens from, there's two particular companies I'm not going to mention in the public forum that do this. And there's, to Brendan's point, there's two people in the front usually, which means there's nobody in the back. So they're just coming through the town using their sirens. And it's...
Well, they could be, say they're racing to go to a place to pick somebody up, so they have to get there quickly, but the question is whether it's actually an emergency. We'll have to talk to, we'll talk to the PC about it.
Yeah, because one of them's an ambulette company, right?
I think they both might be. I
They
don't
might
know.
be, right.
What's the
Yeah.
rules?
Yeah, we'll contact the company, and we'll look at their procedures and see what we can do. Sure.
I gotta
Chicken
go see-
tidbits.
I gotta go see Billy, too. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Richie.
Thank you.
Maybe we go down.
I want that stopped.
I agree with that.
Sam Pinto?
Good evening, everyone. Once again, Sam Pinto, Long Beach. Just following up on Linda and Billy's comment, I actually tried this as well. Living on East Beach Street, I've noticed that these ambulance companies, they're going to historically non-emergencies. They're doing interfacility transports. What happens, and one of the issues is that their navigation systems, so they claim, are putting them through residential roadways. And I can speak to this firsthand because I spoke to the headquarters in Brooklyn, and they turn from Long Beach Road coming over the bridge, then they make the right-hand turn onto East Beach Street. They continue on East Beach Street to National, because that's what the GPS tells them. Then they make a left on National to take Broadway down to the Grandel or the Beach Terrace. So for some reason, their navigation is not telling them, just continue on Long Beach Road to Broadway and make the right-hand turn. And they said they were going to stop doing it, and when I called back a few times on it, they said, sorry, we have new staff, and they dictate whatever navigation program they're using to get to where they need to go. So it's a twofold thing. It's one is the staff follows a navigation that puts them through town, and then two, is there a true urgency in them using lights and sirens? I will say that anytime an ambulance is driving lights, it has to also have its sirens at the same time. So keep that in mind. If they're going and they have dictated rules to drive with lights, they have to, by the rule, I mean, some people are more savvy with it, and they use discretion, but by rule, you're supposed to be having the siren at all times you have lights. So just a little food for thought on that. It's definitely not a new thing, and it is definitely a quality of life nuisance. So, sure.
Sam, can you get me the program that they're using? Because I believe, Richie, we can probably call the program administrator, right, and have them change the routes in the program. I know we've done it with other
But even
programs.
if you change the routes, they're so loud.
Yeah, we've had some success with the GPS companies, and some non-success.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least that piece of it we can
Right,
address.
yeah. I think like the rule is probably they have a rule in place that they have to use their lights and sirens at all times when they're going to and from.
Yeah, I'm assuming, so we'll call the company and see what's going on with that.
Thank you.
If the circumstance dictates that they have to use lights, they have to use sirens too. And just the big issue is to them going through town. They can just take the commercial roadways or the quasi-commercial roadways instead of, the stop sign streets.
They go past my house every day, so.
Yeah. No.
Two
know where I
something in
live.
the morning.
Yeah.
Last Wednesday, 2:20 in the morning. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's really tough. In other comments, real quick, I also want to just comment. I know I sent a message to the city manager on the ambulance billing change in the charter. We've had some discussion on it. If my comment was the reason why it was pulled, I feel very important. I doubt it was, but if there is any chance you need a little assistance or perspective, I'm more than willing to offer that up again. I think there's opportunity for some corrections that make it more applicable. Also, last week, 2 weeks ago, there was an event at the MLK Center honoring Jackie Autumn and recognizing Max Almonte for the work with the center. It was a great event, well deserved for everyone who was there, great participation. One of the parts of the event was that we were planning on painting the building when working with the CSEA as part of a fresh start. So I had a conversation with the city manager. He's like, hey, everyone was enjoying the brunch. And I said, yeah, it was a good time. But he's like, when are you guys going to go paint? So I don't know if you've received any follow-up. That weekend on a Saturday, guys took time out of their day, and they spent a handful of hours on their own time painting the building as part with the CSEA. So we did that stuff. Give you a heads up on that. We did it. I bet there's pictures. One last comment. I asked for a little bit of courtesy on the time. I've also been working for the city for 18 years. And I want to say working alongside Patty Salerno has been amazing. I helped her with her presentations at the library, doing Narcan training courses. She turned a tragedy into an opportunity. She's brought motivation to people, showing success stories. And she's a great, great person. I told her this on the side, and she said, don't say anything publicly, but I think she's deserving. And every Friday, she would come up to the firehouse and say, knock on the door in a cute little scream, hey, I'm here, like, you know. And we would give her Narcan sheets of all the times that the fire department has administered Narcan throughout the week. And every time she saw that it was a success story, she was so happy. So having her do that work really was more than just work. It was a pleasure to her trying to help people. So I just want to recognize her for all that great work she's done.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Eileen Hessian?
Eileen Hessian, thank you. When I was asking about the shot spotter, I forgot to ask my follow-up question, which was, you mentioned that there were 6 or 9 shots per year. What are they outside in Long Beach, if we're not in that mile? How many shots are in other neighborhoods? Approximately.
You mean in other municipalities?
The rest of Long Beach, which is not covered by spot shotter. Like, how many shootings have you had in the rest of the city?
Oh, none this year.
Okay, thank you.
Outside of that area.
Thank you very much.
That's good news.
Also, I wasn't here following when you hired somebody, wait a minute, no. After the big partying on the boardwalk with all those kids, and then you decided to sue the next person who was going to have a party up there, I wanted to thank you for doing that. I think it made a big difference. I'm also wondering, how is that suit going? Are we still suing them? You know what, it's a multiple choice. I'll give you the, how is it going? Why did we sue them for such a little amount of money, which was $24,000, I think, instead of like, $10 million or something?
Not little to me.
And why did we get
That was
outside
little Roy
counsel
either,
for
right?
it?
I could answer the amounts. The amount we sued them for was the amount it cost us to do the event. That's to respond to the event. So I'll answer that part. As far as whether the lawsuit's still going on, Frank, you want to touch that?
It's still in Nassau Supreme Court, and the judge has it. We have a permanent injunction for whatever that's worth. It's but they did cooperate fully and immediately. The judge there took that into consideration, and he's going to consider that, and we'll go further. But the judge is deciding what to do with that. We also have a case in Long Beach City Court as a backup, but I'm waiting for the Supreme Court to see what happens here.
Things take time. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it also that we're making more money on the beach park this year. Is it going to be a positive balance, do you think?
I believe so. We have to check the numbers with Ina and
Okay,
make
so
sure
we'll
she
hear that
verifies everything for me.
Good, okay. And who's going to the mayor's conference? Everybody?
Two of the city council members and myself.
It's
Oh, you might.
John, Brendan, and me as a 50-50.
Okay, have fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joseph Miller? He skipped. Okay. That's it. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Appreciate all your comments and ideas. Arrive safely at home. We'll see you October 1st.